Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us once again. I'm delighted we're recording episode 2 with Jora Gill, the CEO of Connecting You Now. Jora, thanks for coming back again or staying with us.
Thanks, Phil.
Great stuff. So last time in episode 1, we talked about what exactly is AI, why is it useful, where do you start, what is AI for good, and the challenges in AI projects. And also that we've got this round table coming up at the end of November, which will release probably a white paper at the back of that. So I just want to come back a little bit to AI for good. What are the biggest opportunities here? Because AI for good is something that people, you've given a definition in episode 1, people can review that. Where are the opportunities here, and what's the sort of trend in AI for good? Where do you see the growth areas?
Yeah, so the opportunities are clearly for me around customer experience. And by that, I mean not sort of the marketing but creating a fairer digital society. I think I mentioned in the previous episode that we are widening our society by everything moving to banks. High street branches are closing. A lot of people, especially older people, used to go to high street branches.
Yeah.
Now we've said download our app, but that app has got so much friction for a sort of people like you and me, Phil. We quite enjoy that, but people that we interviewed through when we were building Connecting You Now, it was a deep frustration for them. And we're all going to get older. We're all thankfully living longer, and I think the World Health Organization is estimating by 2050 something like 3 billion people will be that sort of over 80s sort of. And
Wow.
what is going to happen? We're going to lose hearing. We're going to lose. I'm already losing eyesight. So how do you build those AI for good products based on communities that desperately need them in their moment of time? So how do you personalize that? So that's one, is to think, as I said in the previous episode, think about all of your community and think how you can help them all through your customer experiences. The other one is clearly healthcare. There's huge opportunity. The challenge with all of these AI for good projects, and we're not alone on this, is you're starting with a vision and a mission, but you're not starting with any dollar signs. We started with a vision and a value proposition that we thought we were going to do something right, but people weren't excited. So when I'd go, into organizations, hey, guess what? We've got a community. We're going to create fairness, and people go, yeah, but how's this going to help me make more money? And we didn't start with so a lot of the projects and a lot of the people that we talked in the community around environmental AI for good, around healthcare, around sort of cybersecurity fair, they actually don't make money. This is where VCs and PEs come in and can see beyond the immediate dollar signs, and that's a challenge that enterprises will face themselves. But I think if you start with the vision and start with values, and start with purpose, and then I think you'll get to a product market fit where the money will come in, if that's your ambition and goal. But with starting with the money, and without any values, without any principles, and without a vision for a society, then I think you'll struggle, because there'll always be copycats that will take you out. So loads and loads of opportunities surrounding us every day. But the only other part I would add to this, Phil, is can you scale it? So you might have a sort of a tiny use case, but as you're thinking this AI for good, is how do you scale your product vision?
I guess healthcare would be a big one. Environmental, as you mentioned, sustainability would be another one, where AI can potentially support perhaps a more sustainable or be more predictive in terms of sustainability issues. We're in the throes clearly of this rack concrete that's everywhere at the moment. Maybe when it comes to buildings, there's another episode recorded with the CEO of a company called Mesh, and it's interesting to hear how the worlds are colliding in terms of things like physical builds and technology. And think AI, it's got so many opportunities out there. I think for how it can how it can expand. And they say AI for good is start with that principle, start with that good idea of doing good things, and then the dollars will come later. No, I really like that. You mentioned before about open models, and I wanted to ask you about. I thought I'll wait till we're on the record. So, what do you mean? What are open models?
right? So before I get to open models, one of our goals is we want, more and more startups to spurt up. We want more and more enterprises to use AI for good, and we will share all of our information and all of our insights, so people can fast track through, their sort of AI journey. And open models are one of those fast track opportunities. So open source AI is like open source technology, but the difference here are these are machine learning models that have already been pre-built, or deep ML models that have been pre-built. They've been built and they've been openly available to the general public for free. ChatGPT 3 is an example. GPT 4 you have to pay, but there's hundreds of thousands of models that are out there that you can use. So you don't necessarily need the AI expertise within your startup or within your organization day one. It definitely helps, and I would recommend it. But I know, this is a skill that's hard to come by, and is hugely in demand. There are challenges with open models as well, but because as you're using this open model, how do you know it's ethical? How do you know that model hasn't got bias sort of built into it? And how do you know it protects people's privacy? So, whereas on the one hand, I'm saying go and use the open models. On the other hand, test the open model when you're using it for whatever use case you're using it in your AI, for good. But your time to market is just going to be reduced by 10x by using open models. And and build something small with your open model and a small data set. And I said in the previous episode, then go and pilot it and test it with real human beings, and then learn from it. Learn, does it fix the use case I was hoping to fix? Is it fair? Is it ethical? And does it sort of manage people's data privacy issues? And you'll only know that once you sort of test it internally, pilot it, and take it out and test it into a small market.
I love that though. Sorry, I'm just making some notes there because that area of reduce your time to market, pilot, reduce time to market, then you get to your scaling point quite quickly using open models. That's fascinating. And people can seek you out in terms of this advice, and you said you're going to be very transparent in terms of your company and your findings and insights, so people can look you up obviously and get maybe tap you up for some information, which would be great.
Yeah, I'm definitely happy to share all the information we have, all the lessons learned we've taken. We are AI for good, so if organizations are out there, whatever sector, and they're doing something AI for good and want to talk to somebody who's been on this path for a couple of years, we're happy to share what worked, what didn't work, the lessons learned, and we really want to get them up and running as soon as possible.
Brilliant. Oh, that's great. When it comes to building a community or building, again, we're still on AI for good. So can AI be appropriate when we think about sort of building services for community? I know that you know the answer to this because it's what you do and what you've been doing and helping. But for those out there, how can AI be a positive effect on a community?
So we actually have a community engagement officer. That's how seriously we take it. Andrina, based in Scotland, is amazing. She's written papers on sort of marginalisation of certain communities. So the way we started was we didn't build a single piece of code. We had a bit of PowerPoint and we went out to the community. We didn't go to clients. We went out to the community. We learned so much, Phil. We learned things like there's a lady who told me that she said, Jora, have you heard of the 10 energy spoons? And I went, no. And she's deaf, and she works with communities who are deaf and blind. And she said, imagine the way you use digital. You're a bit tired by the end of it. You're trying to get on a government site and do your tax returns, and it's not the most amazing customer experience. They're getting better, just government's well done, but they're not. And she said, we in our community, we have these things called 10 spoons. Every time we get some friction digitally, that's one of our energy spoons depleted. And create a product that doesn't deplete one of our energy spoons. And it was like, wow. Another person told me, that people, children who are deaf have to work twice as hard as children, who don't have that disability. And that's a simple question: why? And so imagine, like, on one side you're trying to understand what the Pythagoras theorem that your teacher's explaining. The other side, you're trying to lip read or read text or through another means. So you have to work twice as hard as the other children. Because you talk a bit slowly, you're put into that category. These were really against these biases of you're a bit slow, but you're not. You're actually smarter because you're working twice as hard. So only by talking with the communities, in Scotland, there's a very large Ukrainian population. Their first language is in English. And they're going, could you build a product that could translate from Ukrainian to English with a call center and come back in Ukrainian? And we went, don't know, maybe we could. But by talking to these communities, two things. One, we realized the hazards and that these communities face every day. Second, we realized actually, what features do we need to build in our product that really wow, the communities. And by doing that, we're reducing sort of diversity bias. And we're testing. So we have 70 testers who come from the general population, or people with a disability, or older people who've never used digital in their lives. Those testers, they're fierce. Our product doesn't meet them. And right now we're still in sort of, I'm sort of going to the, when do we scale? And the team are going, we won't scale until the community says we can scale. So that positive feedback. The other thing, finally, Phil, I'll say is, this is a nice to have, but soon it'll be a must have. Regulation is coming, and regulation on fairness, transparency, sort of ethics around AI it's already happening in government bodies, and it's going to be coming to the rest of the. So think about these things beforehand, because then you won't have to rework your product or solution later on and spend a lot of money doing so.
Nice. No, I love that. Then regulation, like say, is coming. So if you are focusing on a community or a sector, then thinking about that regulation ahead of time will save you save you technical debt and having to go back and reinvent the wheel. So then we come to, like, what are your plans? You've got Connecting You Now. For those who don't know, a little bit of overview. What do you do? What are your plans for the future?
So yeah, as I said earlier, we started with not so much a vision, because that sounds too grand. We started with a problem. Like we were sort of talking as a team, and we were talking. I don't know if you've had the chatbot experience, Phil, but
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So what happened with the number of us? We were on sort of different sites. A chatbot appeared, and it went down a decision tree and didn't really answer our question. And then at the end said, I can put you through to a human agent. Great, okay. Then most of us hung on for 15, if we were lucky, more realistically 30 to 45 minutes. And it was great. We got into a human being. And the human being sort of said, look, I can't quite answer your question right now. Mine was around energy tariffs. I was trying to change by, when we had all the sort of costs and still high energy costs, seeing if there's something out there for my specific need. But I can put you to a different agent who can answer your question. And I went, okay. And so I entered all my details in the chatbot. And then the first human agent went, so can we go through the security questions? He went, okay.
Yeah.
And could you tell me, how I can help you? And I went, I just told you in the chatbot. And I went, okay. And then the second agent, 10 minutes later, went, could you enter your security questions? And I went, but I just did that. Could you tell me how I can help you today? At the end of an hour and a half, I got what I was looking for. But so we came up with Connecting. Going, why can't we do that in 5 minutes? Why is it taking so long? So basically, Connecting You Now, it comes into enterprises, takes in the enterprise content data. We then look at the content products, or any other form of content. And a lot of the problems I talked about in the first episode are with data. So then our sort of content aggregator, as we're building in our sort of AI database, it's called a vector database, we cleanse, we're going, look, here are all your content gaps. You really don't want to put this AI in front of your employees or your customers. So we help organizations cleanse their data. Then we put it in front of their customers. You can talk to it, you can type with it, you can do different languages with it, and also employees. So customers, you know, are sort of looking, look, I've got this issue, but it's conversational. It's not like a Google search where it's transactional. And all we do is provide you, we find the one or two things and recommendations that you're looking for. Finally, we look at the insights, we look at the customer behaviors, we look at the sort of, you know, how we could optimize that journey, and we feed it back into the enterprise going, here's some more things you could do with your content. For an employees, we feed it back to the HR teams to go, hey, look, you know, here's some challenges employees are having finding information. And then we've also feedback gaps going, you know what, a lot of your customers seem to be asking for this product and you don't actually have it, or this content and you don't have it. So the final part of our is the insights, and then the loop starts all over again. So that's essentially connecting you now in a nutshell.
No, that's lovely. And like, I mean, you've got, I know, a lot of plans, you've got a lot of customers already and a lot of interested parties who want to work with you. And I'm sure it's going to be, you know, great. I just want to circle back again to that, what you said earlier. If you're going to start in AI, obviously, I guess there's two things then, it would be fair, which is seek out people like yourself who will be willing to help and willing to offer advice. And as I said, the other thing you gave from episode 1 is just start. I guess they're the two main things if you're looking to do something.
Yeah, seek out people like myself. I mean, we're not a consultancy, so we won't charge. And we are in that AI for good. So if you're thinking of doing something with drones that we shouldn't be doing, then probably not the best person to go. Seek out somebody. We will give you our playbook of how we look at AI and the step-by-step instructions of how you should look at AI. Give it to you free. We're not going to charge you for it. And then just start. Once you've got the playbook, the gaps, the potential challenges that you could face and how to overcome them, because we've written the playbook, because we had to overcome them, which we'll share. And then our recommendation is just start.
Brilliant. Jora, thank you so much for your time again. I look forward to spending time with you again very shortly. Obviously, we'll do the roundtable at the end of November and send out some findings from that in a white paper form. And we'll have these episodes live very shortly. So thank you so much once again.
Pleasure. Thank you, Phil.
Speak soon.
Bye.
Bye.